Hey everyone, excited to be back. I am officially back from the Rocky Mountains in Canada. Oh my goodness, what an incredible trip. And as much as it is so wonderful going away and having these expansive experiences, it is always nice coming back home and getting back into the regular routine. And part of that is coming on and doing our lives for you guys, which I've been doing now for 10 years. And listen, if you're new here, I'm Alyssa Lebrecq. I'm a functional diagnostic nutritionist, and I help people fix their gut without having to follow restrictive diets. We help you get to the root cause and understand the why behind your symptoms so that you aren't stuck symptom managing. And today I wanted to come on and talk to you about food, because it's it's the number one thing, actually. It's the number one thing truly that I hear people complain about is their food reactions. And they'll say things to me like, I don't know what to eat, and therefore I don't know what to do anymore because it doesn't matter what I eat, I seem to have a reaction. And I can eat something one day and feel fine, but then I eat it the next day and I bloat like I'm 5 months pregnant, right? And if you're someone who is kind of stuck in this position and you're really grappling with food, which is so many people in our community, then you definitely want to tune into this, because today I'm going to be breaking down how you can avoid food reactions. And it's not about taking out the food. So if you are watching this and you were like, the low FODMAP diet is not resonating with me, the elimination diet wasn't sustainable, I'm having a hard time taking out all the foods that I actually enjoy eating. If you're someone who does not want to live in restriction the rest of your life, then listen up. But also, maybe you're someone who is in some sort of elimination diet or low FODMAP diet, and you're like, do you know what? I will white knuckle through this. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If it means I'm going to get to the other side of these symptoms, I'll do it. Well, I need you to know it also doesn't need to be this hard for you, and that restricting your foods and taking out food is actually part of what is damaging for the gut. Because in order for your gut microbiome to thrive, you need diversity in your diet. You need variety of foods in your diet. And so approaching fixing our gut through restriction and elimination is actually kind of like saying, I have a flat tire and therefore I'm just not going to drive anymore. Well, of course it feels better when you just don't go driving, but that's not very sustainable. And it also doesn't fix the fact that your tire is leaking air and you probably have a hole in your tire. Listen up, you've got a hole in your gut. Maybe not literally, but there's some type of damage, deficiency, or infection that's going on inside your gut. And that's something that we have to get to the root of. So we're going to talk about, no matter where you're at in your process of addressing your gut issues, how you can work to avoid food reactions. So let's take it all the way back to the very beginning of digestion, because there are some real tangible things that you can be doing to prime your gut prior to eating and reduce the chances of a reaction. And in order for us to understand what we have to do, we kind of have to understand how the gut works. So quick tutorial, right? Like Cole's Notes version. Listen, when you go to digest foods, digestion doesn't actually start in the gut, it starts in the nose. Yes, you heard that right. It starts with your nose. In other words, when you start to cook your food and you start to smell it, you know this feeling like, I hope you've had this experience before. Someone cooking breakfast for you. I know we have a lot of type A personalities in our group who are doing all the things for everyone else in their lives, but I hope someone has at least cooked the bacon for you once in your life. And you know, when you're laying in bed and you smell the bacon and the saliva starts to kick in your mouth. This is happening to me just talking about it. This is what stimulates digestion. The smell, the look, the taste. And so digestion starts when we start cooking. And that is what tells and signals to our brain, like, hey, we're about to start eating. We need to stimulate what we call salivary amylase, which is why my mouth is watering right now thinking about the bacon. And this salivary amylase is the beginning of digestion once food hits the mouth. Okay, foods actually start to break down in the mouth long before they hit the gut. All right. So if we understand that, digestion starts with the nose through seeing the colors of your food and smelling your food and observing the shapes and size and then tasting and texture, well, I'm sure a lot of us can agree that many of us are missing the mark right then and there when it comes to digestion, because so many of us are living such busy lives. We're go, go, go. Some of us aren't even cooking our foods. They're maybe being purchased, prepped for us, or maybe we are prepping them in advance and we just pull a cold container out of the fridge, or we're putting together some type of processed meal. But that process of cooking for ourselves and prepping a meal is actually hindering digestion. So we need to slow down the process prior to you start eating so that we can signal to the brain, hey, digestion is about to get going here. So you need to get producing digestive enzymes. Okay, so right from the get-go, we need to slow down and get into presence with your meal. So even if you are, let's say, out to lunch, you're, out to lunch with some colleagues or something, and you are obviously not cooking your meal if you're ordering in a restaurant, how can we bridge the gap then? And so we bridge the gap that by, again, slowing down and then observing the colors of the food. It's registering to the brain, hey, there's food in front of us. What does it smell like? Give it an old sniff, be a weirdo, join the weird club, smell your food, okay? When you start to eat, really slow down and chew your foods. Actually figure out what the texture is like. Many of us are eating so fast. We're actually eating foods that we don't really love because we haven't slowed down enough to actually realize, wow, this processed food is actually not that great. We are just inhaling. We're eating like it's a job to be done, to check off the list, instead of it being a source of nourishment, okay? So signaling to the brain. Here's why this is so important. Even if you, again, are prepping your meals and everything, one element of this that pulls us away from prepping our meals, being present to our meals, slowing down, is stress. And so this is the other element of how you can prime your body to prevent a food reaction. Okay, I'm going to explain why this stops the food reaction in just a moment. But the other part of this is stress. So if you are coming into a meal, even if you are prepping it and smelling it and all the things, if you are activated in any kind of way, maybe you just got some bad news, or maybe your kids are jumping up and down, they're driving you nuts, and you're like, I have nothing left to give right now. I'm just trying to get dinner on the table. Please, everyone leave me alone, right? If you're in that kind of state, or maybe just life in general is feeling stressful, or maybe you are stressing about the food you're about to eat because you're worried that if you eat it, is there going to be a reaction? Okay. At any point, if there is any interjection of stress, then what happens is your gut gets shut down. Okay. Your enzyme levels, your digestive enzymes, which are like tiny Pac-Man that go in and help to break down your foods, they get reduced by 80%. Guys, 80%. 80% of your enzyme production gets shut off. In other words, you have only 20% digestive power when you are under stress. So essentially, when you go to eat your foods, if there's any kind of stress, there's this hair tickling my eyelid. If there's any kind of stress going on when you go to eat, that means that you have only 20% digestive capacity, which means the majority of that food you just ate, your gut is not going to be able to break down. Okay, so this is again why it's so important that you prime the gut. Many of you are getting food reactions just simply because you're either under stress, too busy, flying through mealtime, aren't present enough, eating too fast, and we just need to slow it down so that your body can actually do what it knows how to do best. So back to first thing in priming the gut, get present, slow down, observe your foods, colors, smell, taste. Then when food makes contact with mouth, really chewing your food. Your gut isn't meant to break down whole foods. Okay, many times we'll have people come to me and they're like, I'm pooping out whole foods. That's bad. And you're right, it is not ideal. But if you're pooping out whole foods, it tells me one sure thing. you're not chewing your foods properly. And a lot of people love to blame their gut for that. They're like, oh, my gut's not breaking down that food. That's why I'm pooping out whole foods. It's like, actually, prior to it landing in your gut, you didn't chew that food well enough. We actually want to chew our food to the point where it turns into what we call chyme. And chyme is like mush, right? So 30 to 35 times per bite, you need to be chewing until you get this mush, which is a mixture of your food and that salivary amylase, that enzyme that's produced in the mouth that helps to begin to break down your foods. So when it lands in your gut, your digestion can continue that process. But many people, again, are pooping out whole spinach leaves and mushrooms or berries or like noodles, like whatever they've been eating. And the food should just never even make it to your stomach in that form. Okay, so chew. The other thing that we have to really make sure that we're doing is that we're not watering down our gut or putting out the fire, as I like to say. You see, your gut has this fire in it, so to speak, not a real one. The fire is, we have digestive enzymes, one of which is called hydrochloric acid. So again, acid, think fiery, hot, burny, okay? And these enzymes, especially that acid, is designed to break down your foods, especially during mealtime. And so we want your stomach to have these digestive enzymes, right? Which is why we're reducing stress and we're priming the brain and gut to say, hey, we're gonna get digesting foods and get producing these enzymes. But then what so many of us do, we make the mistake of putting out the fire by drinking a lot of fluids while we're eating. Okay, so now imagine this. You've got all these digestive enzymes. They're in the gut, these little Pac-Men. They're like, meow, 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 we're ready to eat. We're ready to break down your foods. And we send in the food. And then you send in a fire hydrant of water or fluids of whatever kind, and they all get washed out and diluted. Okay, your enzymes can't do their job then. All right, we've just put out the fire. And so mealtime really needs to be separated from fluid time. Now, listen, bless my mom's heart. I'll tell her this to her face, but she makes the driest damn chicken. And growing up, I'll never forget, she used to make this, maybe y'all had it when you were kids. It was like chicken and broccoli and rice, and then kind of like Campbell's mushroom soup, right? Anyways, my parents are entrepreneurs, very busy. They put this, casserole in the oven and set a timer, and, work would go on longer than they expected. We'd get home and this dish would be like burnt to a crisp. Like you touch the broccoli, like just like sizzles and like collapse, like, powder. The chicken was still there. It was dry. I'm talking, if you got like a dry piece of chicken like I had growing up, it's okay to drink some sips of water to get your food down, okay? But we need to really avoid like full big glasses of water during mealtime, okay? Now, if you're taking supplements around meals, okay, that's fine. Again, like get a little bit of water into you to get your supplements in or get that dry chicken down. But again, we need to avoid mealtime and drinking at the same time. Let your fluids happen in between mealtime so that we're not hindering digestion. So each of the things that I've really been talking about up until this point are really focused around your digestive fire and your gut's ability to break down its foods, do what it knows how to do, right? Which is to break down foods and digest. And this is a really important piece of it, right? This is within your control. These are lifestyle habits that you can shift that so many people have out of whack that are impacting their digestion, okay? But the other really big piece of this puzzle that we also have to look at, and this pertains to, I'm gonna say everyone in my community, because if you're following me, you are not just someone who is eating and gets a little bit of mild bloat and then like carries on with their day. No. The types of people that are in our community that come to us are people who are dealing with like chronic gut issues, that are dealing with severe constipation or diarrhea or severe painful trapped gas, bloating, and bloating that's happening after every meal or is lasting heck all day long. You might be struggling with acid reflux. Maybe you already know that you have certain gut infections or you've been diagnosed with diverticulitis, Crohn's, colitis, IBS, Barrett's esophagus, GERD, gastritis. We hanging out together, we're not dealing with mild stuff. And when we're not dealing with this kind of mild stuff, all of these, digestive primers are so, so important. They're even more important for us in this case. But it also means that you have this other big elephant in the room that needs addressing. And that is that there are larger underlying root causes behind food reactions that are going on. So the first step in prevention, again, is priming the gut, getting your gut in the right state. But then we got to go find the root causes. And so I'm going to give you some really great examples, and I want you to make note of these and maybe even let me know in the comments which ones or which foods you're struggling with. Let's do this. Let me know in the comments which foods you are having reactions to, and I'll tell you some of the potential underlying root causes. All right, so we'll have a little bit of fun. Drop those in the comments now. I'm going to start spitting a few examples here, but let me know in the comments what your food reactions are, and I'm going to tell you the root causes. So let's start with a great example. Let's start with gluten. By the way, if you're watching this in real time or you're catching this, within the last 24 hours of me posting, definitely go over and check us out on Instagram. Alyssa Lebrec, Gut Expert, is our handle. I just dropped a whole bunch of nuggets on gluten and your gut, and you're definitely going to want to watch it if you're someone who wants to eat the bread. All right? So go check out those Instagram stories. I've also saved it under my food highlight, actually, so you can check it out later. But let's talk about gluten, why you might be reacting to gluten, okay? Number one underlying root cause is we need to be looking for candida infection. We need to be looking for mold exposure. All right, the third thing is glyphosate toxicity, high levels of glyphosate in the body, okay? Let's talk dairy for a moment. If you're someone who's reacting to dairy products, maybe you eat dairy and you massive bloat, or you eat dairy and then you get super constipated. Yeah, that used to be me, okay? Parasite infection. Number one underlying root cause of dairy intolerance or lactose intolerance is a parasite infection. Okay, now there's lots of other potential root causes behind these guys, but I'm going to give you some of the big culprits that we got to look into. Let's talk about meat. Okay, I was just on with a client this morning, and she was like, yeah, I think it's just steak and I are just not friends. It's just the steak. I was like, whoa, let's unpack that. It's not just the steak, okay? Let's go back to your test results. And I was able to show her through her test results that we did together all of the markings, the specific infections. So in this case, she had H. pylori. There was we suspect a hidden parasite infection going on. Her elastase numbers were low. Her glucuronidase numbers were high. Her calprotectin numbers were through the roof. So I was able to show her all of these markers that really explained why when she eats meat, it feels like it's sitting like a brick in her stomach. And one of the number one things that all of these things connected back to was low stomach acid. Okay, so if you don't have enough stomach acid, which breaks down protein, steak is gonna feel like it's sit like a brick in your belly, okay? So let's keep going here. I see you guys dropping some things in the comments here. Okay, Sean is saying salad. So this is a really good one. Salad, I'm gonna just say raw vegetables in general. You need to be looking for infections that are reactive to fiber. And so SIBO parasites are some of the most common ones. I'd also be looking at enzyme deficiencies and motility issues, okay? Sherry is saying potatoes. So this is really interesting. Right away, my brain goes to, we need to look at sugar-loving bacteria. So potatoes are not bad. None of these foods are bad or wrong. It's that each of these foods have particular nutrients that certain infections will thrive on and or react to, or if there's a deficiency present that your gut will struggle to break down. In the case of potatoes, particularly white potatoes, they are a carbohydrate. They're going to be richer in sugar, which is essential for energy production in your body, which is why they're not bad. I can't stress this enough. You need carbs, okay, especially to heal. But if you're finding potatoes are a problem for you, then I would be, again, looking to sugar-loving bacteria. So looking to Candida, I'd be looking to SIBO as well, might be a factor, but more likely Candida. It could be parasites. There could be some other H. pylori infection going on too. But I would definitely look to the infection in that case. Okay, Talia, hey. We haven't chatted in it feels like a month or so. Hope you're doing well. Okay, high histamine foods like fermented foods, bone broth, etc. Also high FODMAP foods and dairy. Okay, so this is a really great question. So histamine, one, you need to be looking at nervous system dysregulation. 100% you need to start there. Histamine can also be triggered from mold exposure, and usually when there's histamine going on, it's like a perfect storm. There's more than one factor going on here. So it's usually a bit of all the above. Nervous system dysregulation, again, commonly because of, in part, mold exposure, which has allowed for other infections to set in. So I would start with nervous system regulation first and foremost, because the body can't heal if you are dysregulated. You can be in a moldy environment, you can have gut infections, you can be exposed to toxins, and actually come out way further ahead if you are regulated and your nervous system is in balance, versus if you have no exposure, you're taking all these supplements, but you're dysregulated. These people are going to have a much harder time healing than the ones that are still in active exposure but regulated. So in other words, the takeaway there is that your nervous system trumps it all. Okay, so start there. All right, let me know in the comments, guys, if you have any others. And on that, I want to actually jump over to, I'll give you two more examples here, grains. If you're someone who is really struggling with grains, then I would be looking to SIBO, right? Parasites too sometimes. There's certain infections that are going to be more reactive to grains than others. SIBO is the most common one, although it's not a root cause infection. It is one that tends to be most reactive to grains. And so what I hope you're taking away from this is that, we're not looking to take out the foods and blame the foods. What we need to do is take out the infection, right? Get the body primed, get the foundation of digestion laid down by, again, reducing stress when eating, priming your gut, slowing down, chewing your foods, not watering down your enzymes so that your gut has the best chance at digesting those foods. But if you're doing those things and you've got this strong foundation and yet you are still reacting, then the only way through this reaction is to get rid of the thing that is causing the reaction, right? Which is not the food. All right, I really want you guys to think about this for a second. It doesn't make sense that these whole healthy foods, the very thing that is designed to keep you alive. Again, we're not talking about Big Macs. None of you guys are dropping in the comments like, oh yeah, when I had that like McDonald's Big Mac, man, like did I ever feel like shit? I mean, that's possible, but like we're talking about like spinach and like, vegetables, meats, like grains, like we're talking about potatoes, whole foods. And it just doesn't make sense that is designed to keep you alive, and that is what feels like it's killing you, right? It feels like it is taking you out because your gut is just so angry. That doesn't make sense. Again, it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, every time I put gas in my gas tank, like my car is just like not working. The engines is making some noise, or like, it's like I can't get my car to start, or like, I get stuck on the side of the road or whatever. It must be the gas that I'm putting in the gas tank. I'm just going to put less gas in the gas tank. That just doesn't make sense, guys. Like the very thing that's designed to make your car run, right? So we have to go deeper. We have to get beyond blaming the food and place the blame where the blame belongs. Otherwise, it's a slippery slope that is not only going to cost you more of your physical health, because the actual underlying infections, damage, deficiencies will continue to get worse, but it starts to erode your mental health, and it erodes your relationship with your food. And what happens often is people end up coming to see me, and we're not just then having to fix the infection that was causing it in the first place, but we have to also really heal from disordered relationship with food. While I was in the Canadian Rocky Mountains, I made a pit stop in Calgary, and I ended up visiting with a client of ours, and I'm so proud of her. We went out to lunch together. It was her first time eating in a restaurant in years. Now, when this client came to see me, she was so scared to eat foods. She was eating such a restricted variety of food. She was way under eating, and so much food fear. So coming out and meeting with her and going out to lunch and seeing her eat, but not just seeing her eat, the confidence that she had. I said, how are you feeling? I feel fine. I have no fears. I'm no problem. I said, what are you doing this afternoon? Well, I'm going to go home. I was like, I'm going to go paint. Normally she would eat and react and panic and crash and nap. And it was such a gift to see her healing from her food fear. And she can do that so confidently because as we have addressed the underlying root causes for her, her body has continued to feel stronger and stronger. And that's really possible for you too. And, you know, I'll not forget, there was one time she messaged me, she's like, I really want to have cinnamon buns with my husband. It's like our anniversary and like he wants to have them and like I do too, but I'm really scared. And I was like, eat the fucking cinnamon bun. And she did. And she reported back, she's like, I only ate a quarter of it, but I feel totally fine. Right? This is what I'm talking about, guys. Food reactions, if they are occurring because of damage, deficiencies, and infections. And if you are reacting around mealtime, the best thing that you can do right here and right now is go back to the foundations and lay a strong foundation, because we can't even heal from damage, deficiencies, and infections if your baseline is stressed, rushing through mealtime, eating processed foods, not chewing your foods well enough. We have to get the foundation laid first. So start there. And then as you're ready to get to these underlying root causes, reach out. I want you to, in the comments below, I want you to type reaction. Drop reaction in the comments below if you're someone who wants to figure out what the infections are behind your gut. What I'll do is I'll end up messaging you and we can talk about what symptoms you're struggling with, figure out what might be missing, and see how we can best support you from there. All right, guys, that's it for today. And do you know what? We have another topic that's coming out real soon, because when I polled our group about what topic you wanted me to cover, it was so difficult to pick one because there was a tie and there was a couple others that were such close runner-ups. So our next topic is going to be the top infections, gut infections that you need to be looking at that are making your gut angry. So we're going to be unpacking some of these infections that I talked about in more detail in that live. So make sure you tune in. That'll be happening next week. And if there are any other questions, drop them in the comments below. I will jump in and be sure to respond to everyone. It's been fun hanging out with you guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.